I want to take a moment and talk about this idea of moving from charity to change and the power that culture plays in community revitalization. My dad quit his job as a chemical engineer and moved our family from the suburbs of Omaha to the inner city of the community when I was 2 years old. He's a white guy from Iowa. There's a theme of white guys from Iowa moving their families to live on purpose. And he wanted to give his life to something greater. My mom's an African American from Washington, D.C. And when we moved into the community, we were confronted with the reality of the crime and violence and chaos. This map is a map of our city. The red dots on this map represent the amount of murders in our city over the last 29 years. Over 800 murders in our city. Over 600 of those murders have taken place in the northeast part of our city. The blue dot represents the community that our family moved into. My dad, being from rural Iowa, population 300, when he moved into North Omaha, he was shocked by the crime and violence, but he did what he only knew to do, which was start nonprofits to try to address the challenges that he saw in the community. When you come into a place of high crime and violence, there are a lot of challenges. And so for every challenge of gangs, he would start a gang prevention program. And when he saw a challenge of mothers who were having children with no support, he would help start a program. We could list challenge after challenge after challenge. After 20 years, he had actually started 20 nonprofits in the community. Those nonprofits, after 20 years, while they did good and while they helped a lot of people, we saw an incredible gap between the work those nonprofits were doing and the reality of the culture and the community that we were living in. After working for many years and seeing this gap, my dad started to wonder if we needed to do something different. You're probably familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we see this process to development. We see that there's a hierarchy. And for every individual, if you're going to reach your full God-given potential, it starts with your basic life needs being met. When your basic needs are met, you can move up to safety and belonging and love and esteem. This provides a culture and an environment where motivation and validation and support allow you to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. You can take advantage of education. You can take advantage of employment. You can take advantage of housing. But many times we come into a community and we offer services and programs, but they're disconnected from the culture of that community. Here's a picture of my family. I'm one of 14 kids. My parents' favorite Bible verse is be fruitful and multiply. I think they've done a good job of that. They're right there in the middle. You can imagine what holidays look like. Very loud, a lot of fun. They started our nonprofit 29 years ago. If the culture of a family matters and is one of validation and support, I felt incredibly supported and loved. Even being one of 14 kids, my parents spent time before school taking us to sporting events and activities. After school, they drove us around. I don't know that they ever missed an event that I was a part of when I was growing up. They gave me the support. My dad would look at me and he would say, Josh, you're a leader. Josh, God has a plan for your life. Josh, one day you're going to do something that's going to impact the world around you. You hear that long enough and you start to believe it. I thought I could do anything I wanted. Went to high school, graduated, got a scholarship to come to Creighton University, graduated with honors, been married now for 10 years to my incredible wife. We have 4 children. The support that I received, the foundation that my parents gave me, allowed me to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented before me. The culture of our community matters. My neighbor across the street, he didn't have the same opportunities that I had. If I felt supported, if I felt like I had the love and the nurture to become and do anything I wanted to do, he grew up in an environment where his father was nowhere to be found. His mother, while she loved him, was busy working multiple jobs, trying to provide for the family. His sisters were in and out of his life. At a young age, he got involved in drugs and gangs. And at the age 16, he was gunned down on the corner of our block. I'll never forget getting the call when I was here at Creighton University. Josh Dooney's dead. Same community, different culture, very different outcome. If you've ever been on a sports team or a part of an organization, you recognize that culture matters. Winning programs, winning organizations, winning schools have healthy cultures. Organizations and teams that don't do so well have toxic cultures. Every community has a culture. And the culture is a picture of the leaders that are present. Leaders are the ones who build culture. And so when you move into a community like North Omaha, one of the things that you recognize is that the leadership of the community has left. Success in life means to move out of the community. There's actually a saying in communities like North Omaha: work hard, get an education, and you too can get out of the ghetto. And can I tell you, that was the saying for my life. I thought Creighton University would allow me to get a great education and go on to get a good job, or I would have a successful basketball career and go over and play professionally someday. I failed at both, and now I'm here. No, I started to desire to be a part of the solution in the community I came from. When leaders leave a community, they leave a vacuum that leads to chaos. Our family, my parents, found themselves living in the center of this chaos. In 2007, the police redlined our neighborhood as one of the most violent neighborhoods in the city. Crime, violence, the statistics were consistent with everything we had experienced. Our neighbors were murdered. Our house was shot at. Our things had been stolen. I remember my dad getting so full of passion. He said, "We've got to do something different." See, what happens is when those challenges and problems become personal, you start to get filled with passion. And passion leads to action. And living in the community, my dad said, we've got to do something different. And so he started to ask a question: what does a revitalized neighborhood look like? What does it look like to shift the culture of our community? And one of the things that came out as he's talking to other leaders is a revitalized community looks like a cleaner community. And so we started to mow lawns and pick up trash and paint houses. We bought a couple of old abandoned houses and fixed them up and put families into those homes. The police will tell you that a cleaner neighborhood is a safer neighborhood. We said a revitalized neighborhood looks like connection. Looks like people getting to know each other, relationships being formed. When you move into communities of high crime and violence, one of the things that you recognize is because of fear, people live in isolation. And so we started to throw some community events, block parties, and we had food and fun, and in big letters, free. And people showed up. And people started to have fun, and smiles started to happen, and hope started to fill our community. Relationships started to form. People started to care about one another. Our community started to get cleaner, and connections and relationships were built. And then we started to connect resources from outside the community to people inside the community. And we started to see some lasting change happen. 2 years after the police redlined our neighborhood as one of the most violent, they came back and knocked on our door. We put our hands up and said, "We didn't do it." They said, "This neighborhood that was once one of the worst is now one of the best. We want to know what you did." And as we sat there and had conversation with them, and as we took a step back, we recognized that the culture I had grown up in, the culture of our family, the culture of our house, started to become the culture of the community we were living in. It started to create an environment where safety and connection and life could happen. Our desire is to revitalize the inner city one neighborhood at a time by adopting the 700 most challenging neighborhoods and getting leaders from all over our city to move into the community and be a part of change. And to raise up a generation of leaders where success doesn't mean that you move out and transfer out of the community, but it means that you stay and you're a part of the transformation process in the community. We envision a new inner city. See, charity can happen from a distance. Charity is well-intentioned desire to see change happen, but it doesn't necessarily engage the culture or the community. We want to see the great hearts of charity connect with the root of change, which is culture. We believe that together, as we engage in our city's greatest challenges, as we connect culture with hearts of charity and people who want to be a part of seeing change, one day in Omaha, Nebraska, there will be a new vision for what our inner city is. Thank you.